I got time to sneeze.
Yeah.
Jade.
Yes. All right, guys.
Bless
Welcome
you.
to the Metal Summit. It is Wednesday evening. We are here. We are your hosts, and we are your destination and location for everything that you need and want to enjoy when it comes to metal, rock, and everything in between. As usual, I am joined with all of my mates, with my brethren. We've got Max Ash, Bobby Dreyer, and El Alamo, Psycho Steve. How you doing, guys?
Awesome.
Oh,
Right on. It's been a good one. How did everybody's week go so far?
great. Awesome.
Too fast. Damn.
Wasn't I just in Jersey with you, Steve?
That's right. You guys, got together and got to do your little date day for a
Yeah,
minute.
we wah-wah'd.
Right on. Absolutely. Well, again, it's awesome. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday night. It's midweek, but it's the highlight of our twilight, baby.
Zach?
Oh,
Hump day.
yes, it is. Forget
How's
Hump
everything
Day. It's
go-
Metal Summit Day.
Absolutely, for sure. Max, how's everything going with you, man? You're at a different location.
Yeah, man, I'm in Rehoboth and praying that we're gonna have a good connection. The internet, hopefully, it's gonna help.
Oh, I'm not too worried about it. I think we're going to do everything just the way that we like it.
Hey,
Everything
Max.
Yes,
Max,
sir.
the governor says, you got to quarantine for 14 days.
All right, so see you next week. See you next week. I have all the equipment, everything I need, man. So I'm not moving.
Just douse yourself with Perel.
Exactly. Just.
So you guys know Delaware is the only state I've never seen Kiss perform.
Really?
I don't
Wow.
think they can play in Delaware.
There's no venue.
Right.
No.
There isn't. Think about it. There's like no performing arts center.
Well,
Or like
yeah,
a-
there is. King's X Wilmington has a couple of them.
They got a place called the Queen that's great, but they're
Yeah.
not going to be able to do Kiss as Kiss now. That would have been a great venue to see them on the Revenge tour.
Yeah, because they did the TLA.
So, because like I said, I saw them 3 times when they did the club run for Revenge before they started doing the big shows. When they had, I think, who opened up for that show? They had this band because I saw them in Brooklyn at L'Amour's.
Nice.
They had one called Shooting Gallery. It consists of what's it called? A couple guys from what's the name of that band? I can't think of the name of the band. Who is in it? The guy from crap? What the hell? What's it called? He died. What's his name? He was he died in. No, he died with Vince Neil in the car.
Oh,
Hanoi Rocks.
Razzle.
So there was a couple members of Hanoi Rocks, and they were called Shooting Gallery, and they were horrible. People were
Really?
throwing, the singer. He was like, "I can sing better, and I can't even carry a tune with an iPod." They were throwing things at him, throwing the finger at him, everything. But the rest of the band was good. It was Sylvan on guitar. I can't remember who else is in it. And a couple guys from the New York Dolls. It was a good band, but the singer just was off. And then of course Kiss came on, and you're in the club that holds 1,300 people, and there's 2,600 people in the club. I couldn't move, and I'm standing right next to Charlie Benante and Scott Ian of Anthrax, and we're moshing, but we're not moshing. We're just all elbows, nuts to butts kind of thing, just moving up and down like this.
Right.
It was a great show, though. And then I saw them at the Ritz for that show. And then they did a place in Connecticut called Toad's Place, I think it's called. Yeah. So.
Dude, I would have loved to have seen them on the Revenge tour. That was one of the tours I didn't get to see, but really wish I did.
Yeah, I didn't.
Right. That's just the club
I
show.
did Hot in the Shade. I've done everything. I didn't do Revenge. When they were doing clubs, I kind of got out a little. I don't want to say I got out of Kiss. I love what Bruce did. I love everything Kulick did, but wasn't like my favorite time to go see him.
Yeah.
That period of the '90s was off.
Yeah, it was also kind of one of those things too, where like, I mean, I've got like kind of a fascination / loyalty actually to the non-painted Kiss, so I would have loved to have seen that because I just truly love those albums. And as much as we got to, as we put together a list of our top 5 out of the '70s, we're probably due for 5 of them soon.
The hell is that noise?
What is that noise? Angel, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Do you hear it too?
I feel like I'm in the Rob Halford Pig video.
I liked that band, by the way.
I love to.
Dude, Rob Halford and John 5, are you kidding?
Oh,
That boy can play guitar. Let me just tell you.
and so speaking of that, you just brought up something right there, Jay. I was cruising the internet and not looking for any unadulterated things, but the John 5 thing where Manson kicks him in the ass on stage.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
So yeah, when it's I believe it's during like Beautiful People and he's doing like kind of his Mickey Mouse thing on stilts or whatever, and he kicks John. And
John throws his guitar down.
yeah, and Manson basically tells him like pick it up and go back to playing and stuff like that. Like the research that I did on that, when John has talked about that was one of those incidents where like Manson was like basically kind of picking on him at a time where like he just was not in a good like mental state to be getting picked on. Like he had like some personal stuff going on. I think he was having some family, was going through like some health stuff. But from my understanding, like John was going through some stuff just personally, outside of music that, had him kind of upset. So then to be having like his performance disrupted by Manson like that, like really set him off. Have you guys seen that video?
No, I'm gonna YouTube it after the show.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Hey, Angel, you're sideways, dude. I'm like, I thought I was like, I only had a couple margaritas. I'm like, not that bad.
Nice. Max, did Jay sign in? Did Chris sign in? I can't hear Max. Can you guys hear Max?
No, but we can sign.
No. Now I'm back on. Sorry, guys. Angel,
Okay.
you're on mute, so you have to right click and unmute yourself. And now I'm gonna call.
Okay.
Why don't guys you talk about our guest, and in the meantime I call him.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys know, we're going to be having Chris Green from Tyketto, Wizards of Winter, Rubicon Cross with us tonight. But Steve, let me kick this over to you, man. Talk to the fine people.
Okay. Christopher Green, guitarist extraordinaire. I got the chance to interview him about 1.5 years ago for my podcast, Hair on Tomorrow. Chris is on now, so he's going to hear his ears burning a little bit. But he comes from England, but he's actually now lives in Hotlanta. Lucky bastard. So I've seen him perform with Tyketto. I've seen him with the Wizards of Winter, but I have not seen him with Rubicon Cross because I honestly don't think Rubicon Cross has ever played like the States.
Yeah.
We'll ask him when.
Hey Chris, we cannot see you. Can you turn the camera on, please?
Yeah, let me see what's going on here. Hang on a second.
No problem.
Cool. And real quick, while we're getting everything situated and we're getting Chris all fixed up, I just want to speak real quick to our fans and everything who we absolutely love to death. You guys, make our show what it is. We've all 5 of us been very blessed to get to do what we love to do. We get to sit and talk with our friends, talk with our mates, and talk to our heroes about music and all things in between. But the one thing I do want to address to all of our fans and our supporters is we are very fan interactive. We want everybody to participate. Write in comments, write in questions, talk to our guests, have a great time. But guys, make sure that you are keeping it clean. Keep it respectful. There's stuff that we will address to the guests, about stuff we want to ask, as well as we encourage you guys to do the same. We don't really shy away from hot topic questions or anything like that. But the one thing we just want to keep people, and just remind them on is basically, keep it classy. Don't be taking, don't be disrespectful to the guests, their mates, their family members, and their loved ones and stuff like that. We're here for everybody. We put it out for you guys, and we love the world and we love everything. So we just want to remind everybody to, have a great time with us, because this show is for you.
If you have nothing nice to say nothing at all.
Absolutely, for sure, absolutely. Chris, how are you, brother?
I'm doing really good, mate. Really good.
Absolutely.
Can you see everything okay?
Yeah, looks great.
I just want to put it out there. First thing I want to say, I'm just jealous of all your fuckers' hair. Okay, now we can
As it should be.
Just for you guys.
Damn, sons of bitches. All right, go ahead.
Thanks very much for having me on here anyway. Really appreciate the support.
Absolutely, for sure, man. We appreciate you definitely taking the time with us. Well, hey, Max, let me kick it over to you to get us started here tonight, since you're usually a little bit more of the reserve moderator type today. So why don't you kick us off today?
You put me on the spot. Sorry. Hey, I need a minute because I'm trying to accommodate everything.
I can do that for you. Absolutely.
Sorry, guys.
I'd like to read some comments from the fans.
Yeah, definitely. Angel, why don't you kick us off, bro?
Sure. Matt. Hi, Matt. Francis says, "Hey, Jay."
Nice.
Lori Wush finally made it, and we're glad you made it. April, thank you for watching. Love Chris Green. Tyketto rocks. Rich, Steve, the man, the myth. We don't all agree with that. I'm just kidding. Shannon says, "Hi, guys. Hello. Thank you for watching." Aaron, hey there, Jay. Brian, what's up, Jay?
A lot of J love today. This is cool.
Yeah.
Of course. No, they come here for Jay. We're just the supporting acts.
All
Where's
right.
Motley?
All right.
All right, I'm back.
We don't there.
So, Chris, I'm going to jump in real fast. Look, love your solo album, and I've been listening to it. So here's my thing. I'm probably the old dog of the whole crew here. The influence on that album, first person I heard, well, two people I heard on there, Vinnie Moore, and I was like blown away because your vibrato is stellar. And a good friend of mine, Neil Zaza. So they're like two people I heard on that, and I was just like,
thank you. That's a great compliment. I've known Neil for quite a few years now, so he's he's a great player. And Vinny, did you say Vinnie Moore?
Yeah, Vinny.
Yeah, when I guess when I just came out of Guitar Institute, GIT in London, that Time Odyssey album was on like constant rotation. And do you know what that first track on there? I forget the name of it now, but Morning Star, I think it's called. And that opening track, Unveil, that track, thinking about it now, probably influenced me there. Just out the gates, let's just get to it and start sweep picking straight off off the bat. Hold no punches.
Well, I have to say, anybody who is a fan of instrumental guitar, your album is hands up. That Mark Varney era, that was it. It brought me back to that time when I was like, who else was there? It was Impatelli, oh my God, Chastain. There was that whole period right there. And I'm listening to, I felt like it was 88 all over again.
That's great. I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. I remember I got one of these. Do you remember that there was a record called Guitar Masters, and
Yeah.
it had a bunch of those guys on. I think it was like Joey Tafola, Paul Gilbert, Marty Friedman, Jason Becker, all of those Shrapnel Records guys on there. And I mean, I still don't put myself up there with those kind of players, but that's definitely who I aspired.
Well,
to.
you won't, but I will, because if anybody's a fan of that album, definitely check out Chris's solo album and keep doing more, because great stuff.
I've got time to do it right now, right? No excuses.
Well, absolutely. I mean, for example, Chris, like you just kind of touched on it, and we were actually discussing it amongst ourselves before we came on live. Talk a little bit about what you've got going on with Tyketto right now, because the thing I thought was actually very cool, and I actually really respected it a lot for what you guys did with it, was you addressed publicly to the fans your choice to basically shut down 2020 because of the situation. But you were very open and honest about it. You were very, clear to the fans, like, this isn't a lack of love. We love you guys. We go out, we play. But because of the loss of the first part of the year, you were talking about how the second part of the year was just becoming too difficult for you guys to do. So talk a little bit about that decision and really being so direct about it.
Well, first of all, with Tyketto, when it comes to the fan base with Tyketto, there's one word that is always mentioned, and that's family. And we very, very much have a close relationship. The band's always been known for that, even before I was in the band. Very, very loyal fan base, and we treat them with the utmost respect in return for their loyalty. And when this thing happened, I feel that we were a little ahead of the curve, because we saw what was happening. Myself and the drummer Mike, who pretty much manages the band, we talked a lot in those opening weeks when you heard stuff was going on over in China, and then everything hit Italy, and me and him were chatting on the phone going, I don't know, man, this doesn't seem like it's going to be something that's going to go away. Let's just at least look at some contingency plans, just in case this thing happens to get out of control. We are always looking at contingency plans. Whenever we're looking at touring, if we have to fly in day of show, we book 2 flights for each person for that day in case one of the flights goes down. We're so catastrophe wary. If you guys have ever, well, you've never had the unfortunate situation where you've had to travel with me, but traveling with me tends to bring a lot of bad luck. So we always make sure that we've nailed stuff down as much as we can. So that being said, Tyketto is not one of those large bands. It's not, I mean, certainly not in the stadium area, but we're not like, Y&T and Warrant and Firehouse and those kind of guys that, they're making good enough money that they can, it's not built on a house of cards like Tyketto is. We're using tomorrow's money to pay for today's flights, and we just said, let's just tell them what the situation is. We can't, if this thing gets cancelled in March, as it was back then, in May, sorry, then we don't get the money that can afford for us to pay for the flights for the next part of the tours. We don't go out on huge budgets. We travel modestly. We're just about getting there efficiently and bringing a really, really good live show to the fans. And we just didn't want to fool them. There was a lot of stuff going on with festivals, and I get it. They were trying to kind of cover their asses by not saying anything, giving them more that, this isn't happening. Don't worry about it. It'll all sort itself out. And we were like, no, this is not going to sort itself out. Let's address it now. Let's tell them as it is. And we'll come back next year fighting, So we gave ourselves what we feel is enough time for this thing to dissipate, for the world to get back on its feet, and for us to come out again with a great tour, which is why we chose March next year for the rescheduled dates.
Absolutely, for sure. And I think, I definitely know that your fans can appreciate that. And it's super duper understandable. I mean, for the time being, it's something that we can't not address, on each of our shows every week, as well as when we're just talking amongst ourselves. But Angel, let me kick it over to you, brother. Do you want to speak up a bit?
Yeah, just want to ask. The band always seems to do very well in Europe for 2021 or beyond. Are there any plans to maybe do a tour in Japan or South America or some of the other places that you don't normally get to play?
Well, Japan is, I think for most rock bands, Japan is one of those bucket list places. Tyketto didn't get to play there even in their heyday in the early 90s. So if that was to happen, then that would be amazing. With Japan, it's very difficult because tour support is pretty non-existent. Like it's the finances aren't there. We'd probably have to bank ourselves to get out there and take a risk that we would be able to come away with our mortgages intact. South America, there had been some talk about some shows in South America, nothing concrete whatsoever, and of course any of those kind of talks completely went away when this pandemic started. But to touch on what you said about Europe, Tyketto has always had an extremely loyal fan base in Europe, and when Geffen Records dropped Tyketto back in the early 90s, Europe kind of became their second home. I mean, their first home, if you're talking about where their bread and butter was, but that's completely where they are at home. The English fan base is the largest fan base of the band. After that, we have good fan bases in Spain and Germany, and we got into Scandinavia a couple of years ago too. So it's never, as most bands will probably tell you, it's never through want of trying. We always want to go out and play more and to broaden the map of where we're sitting. Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen that way. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, yes. I have a question from a fan.
Yeah.
If I mispronounced your name, please forgive me. Cher Gores wants to ask, what is the name? I'm sorry, what's the origin of the name Tyketto?
Oh, good.
Okay, so I'm probably not going to get this story exactly right, but if memory serves, the original bass player Jimmy Kennedy had seen a sign that said something on it. It wasn't Tyketto, but he said it to Mike over the phone. He said, I've got this great idea for a name. Mike completely misheard it, I think, and then spelt it out. So the word Tyketto literally means nothing. It is the good thing about it is that if you Google it, we're pretty much the only thing that's going to come up because it's pretty much just a made-up word. But most people, when they've never heard of us, think we're a Japanese band.
Yeah.
And they're always super surprised when like these pasty face, Caucasian geezers bowl out on stage with long hair,
That's hysterical. It's like the telephone game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Absolutely. Hey, Max, how are you doing, brother? Do you want to sit back or do you want to chime in?
Max, you're not on. Max, you're not on.
Sorry, I was on mute on purpose. Sorry, guys.
Thank
you're okay. Thank you, Bobby. So this is more like about your history as a musician. Where are you from originally? You mentioned South America. That's where I'm from, Argentina. And when where are you from? And when was the first time as a guitar player that you felt that you will be a professional? That that moment that you say, I'm gonna make this as a living. This is gonna be my profession.
Yeah. Well, I was born in London, West London, in England. in a place called Hammersmith, and grew up in West London around Chiswick. And then my parents moved us to the south coast, just north of a place called Brighton. If you know Queen's song, Brighton Rock, you know,
Yep.
that's pretty much where I lived for most of my life until I moved to America, actually. As far as playing guitar, I didn't actually have any guitar heroes as a reason why I picked up the guitar, and rock music wasn't something I listened to back then. Not rock music in terms of melodic rock, as you know, I would classify Tyketto. My dad was a musician, and I grew up seeing him on TV a lot, and I grew up having live bands around our houses a lot, doing rehearsals, and so it was more of just like a feeling of music that I just liked what it was. So the bands I was listening to when I first picked up the guitar were things like the Small Faces, the Kinks, Dire Straits, the Shadows. It was much more 60s based music, and my dad had played in this band with a guy called Cliff Richard, who in England was like a big star, you know. And so he knew the guys that also played in the Shadows, and so I got a ticket to go and see the Shadows when I was 12 years old. And I'd been playing guitar for about a year, and my dad had showed me how to play a little bit of like Apache by the Shadows. And I got a chance to go backstage and sit down with Hank Marvin, the guitar player, and he showed me a couple of things on the guitar. So and then I went back out and watched them play Brighton Centre, which is, you know, a reasonably sized venue there on the south coast. And that was it. Seeing them on stage, just seeing, I don't know, just it was that was the bug. That was the bug when it was like, oh yeah, I really want to take guitar more seriously. The moment when it was like, no, I now have to do this, was my first rock concert, which was Monsters of Rock at Castle Donington in 1990. And it was Whitesnake, Aerosmith, Poison, the Choir Boys, and Thunder. And when Thunder first came out on stage, and I was in the crowd, and you just felt that energy of being around 72,000 people, and they just like, you know, you remember rock stars were completely untouchable back then.
Yeah.
You didn't find them online, or like the Monster Rock Cruise, you didn't bump into them in the cafeteria. No, it was completely different, you know. So they were untouchable superstars, and that whole, whatever it was that I got from the stage made me think, I want to be on the other side of that. I want to be giving that out, and that was the moment. That's when I decided to throw my life away.
Cool, man. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Psycho, let's kick it to you, brother.
All right. Well, as I said before, I've been a fan and a friend of Chris for a while. Now, you are in a new project, well, new to maybe you guys and some of the people that are in our fans that are watching, Wizards of Winter. I know Fred because he did Dark Sky Choir.
Yeah.
And he put this project together. And also we had another guitarist on our show, Steve Brown.
Yeah.
And now you're in Wizards of Winter. Now, how did that come about? Because when I interviewed you, that wasn't happening.
Okay, so firstly, I'm not in Wizards of Winter anymore. That's Steve effectively took my place in Wizards of Winter. And the only reason that I'm not doing that anymore is because it was being away from my family for that extended amount of time over the holiday periods was just, it's something that I just didn't want to give up. You know, I make a lot of sacrifices in music, and when I did that tour, I thought it would be okay, but you know, I've got a 7-year-old son, and you know, I was out on the road for 2 months in a tour bus. We did 15,000 miles across America in 2 months, and I flew home Christmas Eve, got to see my son, and then flew out on the 26th again to play dates, and it was just, I loved the band, I loved the music, but that's why I didn't do it anymore. The way that I got into it is that our bass player, Greg Smith in Tyketto, the most recent edition, he's the bass player in Wizards of Winter, and he called me and said, bro, I got a gig for you. As you guys know, like when these gigs come about, it's always, you always like, I wonder how they get those gigs. And it's, as you probably imagine, it's always word of mouth. People never like going too far out of their comfort zone. So they're like, hey, if you know someone reliable and that they can play this kind of material, just reach out to them. And for anyone out there that doesn't know what we're talking about with the Wizards of Winter, it's basically a Christmas extravaganza, very much like Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It's a Christmas-themed rock opera on a smaller level, although we did play some wonderful theatres, thousands of people. But I had a really good time on that tour. I mean, 2 tour buses, 2 trailers, I think 21 people, which is a pretty large production to drag across a country.
Yeah.
I got to see the whole of America. I got to do something that I had always wanted to do. It was a dream for me. So it was a wonderful experience, and I wish them all the best. And I really hope that this is over so that they can actually get this tour in November, December. That's their touring time. Who knows if it would happen.
Hey, Chris, let me jump in here. So you had, with the Wizards of Winter, was it, who was the former member of Trans-Siberian Orchestra in there?
John O'Reilly, the drummer. He had been in the Wizards for 12 or 14 years, I think. He was in there for the longest of time. And I think that first tour with Wizards that I played was his first tour not in Trans-Siberian. Tony, the narrator, I believe he was also in the Wizards. He was also in Trans-Siberian. He's a character, man. He'd cook almost every night for us. He was just great chef, and we always had good food and a lot of red wine. I can remember that. Yeah.
Well, this is a 2-parter. So you mentioned GIT, and you're out at MI, and
yes.
When did MI go to the UK?
So there was there was 2 guitar schools in London at the time, back in, let me think. When I first applied, it was 1991. I was 17, just turned 17, and I couldn't get in there for 3 years because it was a private college back then. You had to pay to be in these colleges, and it was thousands of pounds, which I didn't have, and my parents were evidently not willing to pay. So it took me 3 years. I begged the government, and in the end they said, we'll pay the tuition, but you have to find your own housing and stuff. So I slept on sofas and did what it took to get through college. But there was a GIT, Guitar Institute of Technology, which I went to. And there was an MI, like in Hollywood, the Musicians Institute. And a friend of mine was going to that one while I was at GIT. And funny enough, I went out to the MI in Hollywood after I graduated from the GIT in London. And we went in there and we're like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, we just graduated in London. It's just down the road from your sister college. And they were like, what are you talking about? We don't have a sister college. And so I think that college, I think that MI in London had just nicked the name and was using it. They're not around anymore, so I don't know what happened there, but it was a completely different franchise. And it was very, very small when I was there. We're talking, there might have been 12 or 15 people in my class for the whole year. Now, if you go and see the colleges, there's probably 3 classes a day with 50 people in them. So guitar's cool again, right? It wasn't cool in '94. No one was playing solos anymore. Like, new metal was happening, and no one wanted to know about, shredding. I buried my head into Dream Theater and didn't come out until late 2008 or something.
Oh, so you didn't wear flannel shirts?
No, I couldn't afford flannel shirts, man.
Absolutely. Angel, let's kick it over to you, man, if you got anything you want to bring up from yourself as well as the fans.
Nothing from the fans. Kathy says Chris is a badass.
Thank you, Kathy.
I have a question. At the M3 Festival, when you played 2 years ago, your son Sullivan got to go on stage and play with Slaughter. Has your son taken up music, and how was that experience? Just kind of having your son see you perform at M3 a couple years ago.
It was, I mean, I can't put into words what it was like, because it was just, I mean, him getting on the stage was one thing. If you saw his face, I've got a video somewhere because I was filming from the side stage. His face when he came off was just like, he was just the most elated that maybe I'd ever seen him at that point. You know, and as a parent, I'm not sure how many of you guys are parents, but like to get that off of your kid is just priceless. It really is.
Absolutely.
And it came about because I bumped into Mark in the airport, because he lives in Nashville and his layover was Atlanta. Most people's layovers in Atlanta because it's the Delta hub. So most of my mates are always texting. You know, whenever CJ from Firehouse is coming through Atlanta, he always texts me and say, "Hey man, I'm in town for 10 minutes, you know, connecting or whatever." So I bumped into Mark in the airport, and he ran up to my son, ran up to Mark and was like, "Hey, what's up?" And he was like, you know, 5 or something. And Mark's like, you know, he's so cool. He's like, "Hey, little man, what's going on?" And then I came over and he was like, "Is this your son?" And he just said, he was like, "Dude, does he want to get up and sing on stage with us?" So I think he just ran over to Mark and started screaming "Up All Night, Sleep All Day." So he just went over and started screaming it, and Mark's thinking, what the fuck is going on here? And so he was really nice about it. He was like, "Get him on stage." And man, he couldn't wait to get on there. If you've seen the video, there's a video of him running on there. He bowls up there, grabs the microphone off of Mark and just starts screaming the chorus. It was amazing. It really was.
That's awesome, dude. That's so cool, man, for sure. Yeah, we definitely have a few parents on this Metal Summit team, so definitely do that kind of stuff. One thing that I kind of wanted to ask you about, because I thought this was just kind of an interesting thing, is you played a few shows with Delacoma, like right after basically he was left with just himself. And you were brought in to help out for kind of like a little Midwestern swing, I think was about that. So talk a little bit about how that went, because I thought that was actually very cool that you played with that.
So the way that came about, a friend of mine, April Lee, she works, you know, with the Monsters of Rock crew, and you know, helps out at M3 and stuff, and she put me in touch with him, gave me a brief story of what was going on, which pretty much was that the band had fallen apart around Del. Del is basically Delacoma. He's Australian, the band is Australian, and a tour had been booked and he had no band anymore, and so he was desperately trying to put a band together. And this is usually something that I completely shy away from. I don't like things that are out of my comfort zone. I certainly don't like things if it is stylistically a little out my wheelhouse, and especially when it was a short notice as it was at that point. But I chatted on the phone to Del, and he's got this enigmatic personality, and when you chat to him, he really draws you in. You know, he could sell ice to Eskimos, man. Like he's got the gift of the gab. He would just, and he drew me in, and I was like, do you know what? Why not, man? I'm not doing anything at that point. He got in a fantastic bass player called Jaron, who's now in Tantric. Troy, who was already in Tantric playing drums. Troy was also Patrick Farrell. Yeah, Troy Patrick Farrell, exactly. Yeah, he's a hilarious character. Actually, touring with him was pretty funny. And weirdly enough, I hadn't seen Troy since I played guitar in Firehouse. When I played guitar for Firehouse when we played some shows in India in 2008, and Troy was drumming for White Lion. That was the last time I think Mike Tramp was allowed to use the White Lion name, was in that year. And so I just threw caution to the wind, and this is not rocket science music. It's just rock and roll. It really is just what I would class as straight up rock and roll music. And I don't even think we really rehearsed. We might have had a sound check or something. Everyone just learnt their stuff, and we just bowled out there and played it. And I had a really amazing time on that tour. And me and Del are still really, really, really good friends to this day, actually.
Oh, nice. That's really, really cool, man, for sure. Hey, Max, let's kick it to you, and we'll follow it up with Bobby.
All right. So you've been in Tyketto for 6 years. How was the progress, right, from since you joined until today, right? So what do you feel that you learn? Tell me a story if you have a funny story with the band.
Okay, so bear in mind that Tyketto, even though they were bigger in Europe than they were in America, I only really knew the song Forever Young. And I'd been introduced to Danny. There used to be this show every year in England called what was it called? The Gods of AOR Festival. And when that style of music, whatever you want to call it, melodic rock, AOR, hair metal, whatever you want to call it, this was pretty much the only show in the whole of England once a year that was held, and it'd be like 2,000 fans that were, wanting to relive those times and that sound.
Glory days.
Yeah, exactly, right, yeah. And that's when I first met Danny. And he asked if me and the rest, I was in a band called Pride at the time, a melodic rock band. If you get a chance, actually, I don't know if any of you guys have checked that out, but we did 2 albums with that band back in 2000 and 2002. Worth checking out if you like melodic rock. We were really proud of that stuff. It was super cool. And so we backed Danny for a couple of songs because he was just going to play acoustically and he wanted a full band. So we got up and played, I think, Forever Young and Strength in Numbers with him. And then that was it. And then 2013, I get a random call from Danny saying, "Hey, I know the answer's probably going to be no anyway, but hey, well, if you don't ask, you don't get. Would you be interested in joining Tyketto?" And it had just come at a time where I was still kind of transitioning from moving from England to America, because I just completely left everything behind in England when I came over here. It was, I think my stuff is still in storage somewhere in England. I don't even know where it is. I pretty much just came over here with a suitcase. Maybe somewhere. There's probably a rubbish storage wars UK version that's selling all my shit somewhere.
Yep.
But basically, he called me up, said, "You want to join the band?" I was having a problem transitioning and trying to find what am I going to do, because I'd done some work with CJ, we'd done Rubicon Cross. We weren't able to go out and gig Rubicon Cross because Firehouse was so busy. And it came at just the right time where I was I hate to say at a loose end, but I was in a position where I wanted to invest my time into something that I thought would have some longevity. And that's pretty much how it came along. And Mike, the drummer, just said, "Yeah, just send me a video of you playing Forever Young and I don't even know what the other one was. It was one of the tracks of Don't Come Easy. Seasons, that's the one that he wanted me to play." He said, "If you can play these, you're in." So I sent him a video the next day, and he sent me an email back saying, "Welcome to our functional dysfunctional family," or something. Some words to that.
It's very funny.
And it's been really cool. It was, at first I was like a fan on stage playing with them, and now I'm just part of the family with them.
Cool.
We're very, very close. We talk to each other. We have like a WhatsApp thread that we're always talking to each other on and sending just dumb shit to each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is,
Yeah.
the quarantine memes that go around.
Yeah.
What
What? For those who don't know, WhatsApp is an application for the phone. I know, so it's crazy because some people here in the United States they don't know that application, But if you are from outside of the United States, probably it's the most common, tool to chat or talk.
Oh
Just
yeah, I didn't even think that people were. Yeah, I'm so used to it.
because here the connections are so well, right? So you just send a text or or just
Yeah,
send a picture through text, if you have an
exactly.
iPhone or whatever. But outside of the United States, you need something like WhatsApp, or I think there's another version, a Chinese version, WeChat. So those are the
Yeah,
two biggest one outside. So, sorry,
right.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to comment
No,
that
no,
out.
of course, man. Yeah, I'm not very good at explaining that kind of stuff. I just mumble on, expecting everyone to understand what I'm saying.
Cool.
For sure. Yeah, Bobby, you want to jump in, brother?
Yeah. Okay. So Chris, I want you to really go in a little bit. Everybody's been talking about Tyketto, and I talked about your solo project, but Rubicon Cross. I mean, the whole thing is. I love the background of it. The name came from what Julius Caesar, so
Yeah,
that end. But explain about the band because it was you and CJ, and it was based out of what, Chicago?
yeah. That's when I lived in when I first moved to America. I lived in Chicago, and CJ was living in. Let me think. He was living in Milwaukee, so he was only like he was less than 90 minutes north of me. So
Okay.
I was able to. We were. Let me give you some background about me and CJ. When we first met, when my band Pride supported Firehouse in the UK back in 2003, I think. Bizarrely enough, main support was Danny Vaughan.
Huh.
Um, and me and CJ became really, really good friends. And the first show in Madrid, Spain, the promoter, Kieran Dargan, Irish guy, really lovely guy actually, he apparently grabbed CJ and said, "Come to the balcony. I need to show you this guitar player." And we had this ballad called "Still Raining," which gave me a chance to just wank off on the guitar for like 3 minutes at the end of the song. That kind of like a November Rain sort of self-indulgent guitarist moment. And CJ came out and saw me play it, and he just really digged what I was doing. And halfway through, we took a break halfway through the set so the singer could go and play some acoustic tracks. We were basically trying to just drag the set out a little. So the singer would go off stage, Matt would sing some acoustic tracks, and while he was on stage singing that, CJ comes up to me and goes, "Hey, what's up? Listen, I'm thinking about putting a solo band together. Do you fancy playing guitar for it?" And that's the first time I'd met him. I'd met the rest of the band, but I hadn't met him. And I'm like, I felt like I was cheating on my girlfriend. You know what I mean? Because my singer's down there singing on stage, and CJ's like, "Hey, what's up, bro? You want to come join the band?" And so I go back on and do the second half of the set, and I'm kind of a little more nervous, thinking, "How am I going to tell Matt? What do I say?" And we became very good friends, man. I was best man at his wedding. He was best man at my wedding. He's my son's godfather. We're very, very close. And Rubicon Cross basically grew out of he wanted to do a solo album, the CJ Snare Project. But the more that we wrote together, the more he thought, well, this is a partnership. This isn't, he just didn't feel comfortable going out there saying, this is the CJ Snare Band. He wanted it to be a band. And so the bass player who was in my English band Pride, bizarrely, also moved to Chicago and married a girl. So he was there, and I'm like, bro, if we're going to get anyone playing bass, it's going to be Simon. He's hilarious. We call him the Rider Raider, because even now, every time he goes backstage, if you're a band, like he will sniff out your rider and drink it before you got back off stage. Absolutely terrible. And we got Rob Benke, and we got Jeff Lerman on guitar. Jeff had played in a 80s cover band called Hair Hairbangers Ball, and super cool guy, great guitar player. Needed a guy that could play rhythm and cover the harmony guitar parts, and so it came together real quick, real natural. And Steve, I remember you saying earlier that we never played in America. We did the exact same Midwest route that the Delacoma tour did. We went up and did a mini stint going up Green Bay, I think Appleton, Fond du Lac, and we played a show actually supporting Fozzy, Chris Jericho in Chicago. Yeah, that was really cool. I tell you, if you want to talk to someone who's an oracle or a font of all knowledge when it comes to rock and metal, that guy knows everything. He's like, him and Eddie Trunk could probably go toe to toe in terms of what they know about.
Oh, we're not touching Eddie. No.
Yeah, well,
Oh no, but Chris is definitely on our radar. He and I actually have a relationship because the first time we met, I was wearing a Lizzie Borden shirt because I'm a Lizzie Borden fanatic,
right.
And so is Chris.
Right.
And Chris was literally like, "Holy shit, dude! Like, I was just talking to Lizzie yesterday. Can I take your picture and send it to him?" And I'm like, I'm not going to tell Chris Jericho, no, he can't take my picture and send it to people.
Yeah, you're not saying no to him. That's just very straight. But he's so super health conscious too, because we were there and we're obviously, doing what we would do. That I tell you, man, you wanted to see a drinking band. Rubicon Cross was, it was like, the perfect storm. You seen that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was like when you'd see us lot meet each other and we hadn't seen each other in a while. I'd be on that, oh shit, there's Hurricane Chris and Hurricane CJ, and now we've got Hurricane Simon coming out the tropics. This is going to be a shit show, and that's basically what Rubicon Cross was like. And then we went into Chris's dressing room, and him, Rich Ward, the guitar player, they're in there, and they've got they've all brought their own superfoods, they've all got their designated meals that they have for the day, in Tupperware and stuff. I'm like, what's this, man? What, obviously what it was. Now that I'm in my 40s, I'm like, oh yeah, well that's called staying in shape and not being an idiot.
Yeah. Hey Chris, I want to. So I just jumped on Amazon and picked up a copy of Signs of Purity.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah, great. So. Really neat. So, if anybody wants it's, and me being a junkie, so I never knew Toshiba had a record label. So you were on EMI. It was EMI's label out of Japan.
Yeah, that was our first record contract. I'll never forget because we met each other in a supermarket. A supermarket's grocery store, car park, right? And Ivan, the keyboard player who'd brokered the deal, because he had a previous band called Balance of Power, like a prog band that had done well in Japan. So he brought this contract, it's like a 40 or 50 page contract, and we're signing it all on the top of the car. And and you got to initial like every page, as we're like speeding through it. And we give it to Matt, the singer, and we're like, okay, you keep a hold of this and we'll send it off. And we were all in 3 separate cars and we drove off. And as I looked in my rearview mirror, I saw like 50 pages just blowing away in the car park. And Matt had just been so excited and dazed about it. He'd left it on top of his car and just driven off. And so, we then had to spend the next half an hour running across this parking lot, collecting the pages of this record contract we've been waiting our whole lives to sign, and trying to, what have you got? I've got page 59. Well, where's page 43? Go and have a look at the corner. So it was.
I got to tell everybody, if they're searching for the band Pride, watch what you look for, because there's a lot of crap that'll pop up. Especially being June, I'm like going, oh my God, gay pride in London.
So,
I'm like everything.
So this was probably an oversight that our keyboard player did not think about, because he named the band, right? And we came from Brighton. Now, Brighton, bear in mind, is basically the San Francisco of England.
Oh, wow.
In fact, it's the San Francisco of Europe. The biggest gay pride festival is held in that town, and we were the only band called Pride. In hindsight, we should have taken all of those unsold CDs, set up shop in the middle of the Pride Festival, and just tried to sell them on, because they probably would have like bought up on them. But it was maybe a little ill-conceived, but there's been some funny stories about that in the past.
So what was the name of the other album? I mean, I found this one. So
the first one was called Far From the Edge, and which I think was as close to not being plagiarism as Close to the Edge by Yes. I was listening to a lot of prog music at the time. And we recorded it actually in a place called Parr Street Studios in Liverpool. Man, this place, you know the band Coldplay?
Yeah.
They were in Studio 2 recording that debut album while we were in Studio 1. Like, it was one of those, the live room has enough room for a philharmonic orchestra in it. And this English band, Echo and the Bunnymen, were up there. This top, the number one girl band at the time called Sugar Babes. It's kind of like a Spice Girls style band back in '99. They were in there just before. Oh, I've got a great story about them actually, because their engineer got in serious trouble because back then we all recorded on 2-inch tape. Like, it was that first album, Far From the Edge, was reel to reel. And for those of you out there that don't know how they put the album together, they use a razor blade. They splice tape. You cut the tape and then you tape it back together to get the distances between the tracks. It's not like now where it's all done digitally and you choose, I want 1 second between each track, I want 2 seconds between each track. You use a razor blade. Now, the rookie engineer that had gone in there had left the razor blade on top of the studio monitor. So what is basically the back of a speaker cone? It's a giant magnet. So it magnetized the razor blade, and for every splice he cut, he erased 2 seconds of music either side of the splice. Needless to say, there was some re-recording done and the engineer was never seen again.
That's crazy.
Well, I just found your second album, so now I got both.
So the one you bought, Signs of Purity, was the second album. The first one.
Oh.
I
got the first one now too.
You got that as well?
Yeah, I just found it.
You and my mum, man. You're like the only two people I know.
Hey, Angel, let me kick it over to you. How are we doing with the fans?
Let's see. Ian says Reach album is amazing. And Sherry said Rubicon Cross. Yeah, that's about it from the fans. I'm kind of looking up again. Yep, that's all the comments we got from fans.
Gotcha. No problem. I did see one comment that from Dawn, who said that she loved seeing your son running on the stage.
Yeah, it was a great moment, man. I mean, he's. Do you know what? You asked me whether he was interested in music, and the answer is he was back then. I've got. Let me see. Let's have a look here. I've got him his own little like Minion Jackson.
Oh, that's cool.
And I used this. I don't know if you saw. I did a video of using 50 guitars to play Forever Young by Tyketto, which I shot here in my little studio here. And this one I actually used it, and I did one of the lead licks. So I bought him this guitar, and I was so proud of getting this for him. And then he was like, "That's amazing." I put it in an open tuning so he could literally just strum without having to use his left hand. And now he's into, Minecraft and stuff like that.
Cool.
That's hysterical.
7-year-old, so I'll leave it. I said to him, dude, I own, and I'm not sure if you know this, I own around about 100 and, I don't know what it is, 120 guitars or something.
Wow.
I got you beat.
I can see, I'm looking in the background. What's he doing?
No, but
I said, dude, you're either going to have to get yourself an eBay shop or you need to learn guitar. One of those two things is going to have to happen in the future.
Chris, sorry to jump in. Is there any brand that is sponsoring you now? What's
I have a couple of labels that sponsor me for sorry, a couple of models that sponsor me for guitar that I do on like a non-exclusive basis. One of them is Gordon Smith, which is a guitar company that are paired with Black Star amps, who I also play, and Winnie Custom Guitars in Switzerland.
Oh, nice.
That one is that you want to see that? That one's out of control.
Oh,
Go
You
for
want
it.
to say it?
Yeah. In the meantime, I want to say that I want to say hi to my family in Switzerland, the Marfurt. I don't know what's the city. I cannot pronounce it.
I love Switzerland, man. Switzerland's such a great place. All right.
Yeah.
So the guy handmade and hand drew this thing.
Oh my God.
Damn.
Wow. What is
It's
it?
it's got the Rubicon cross on the
My
back.
God. That's insane, man. That's
You can see
crazy,
the grain
dude.
on this thing. Let me see if you can see the grain on the neck here. It's basically all. And
Wow.
I always
Yeah,
loved, ever since seeing Whitesnake in 1991, I always wanted the hockey stick Adrian Vandenberg style headstock,
Wow.
first headstock.
Oh, God.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
no,
dude.
absolutely. Like
Wow.
Chris, me and
Chris,
Bobby are like
Chris,
literally
what?
like
What?
we're the
What?
gearheads.
Get out of here, man! He's got a Vandenberg.
oh, this is number 100. And Mike Learn did the paint job for me. Adam Reaver, fu.tone, does all my trims.
Man, get out! I'm hanging up. I'll see you later.
No. Yeah, this was bought in 89, 90. So it's an original PV.
So I'm actually in a fan group for this guitar that he's got right here. You in that group? The PV Vandenberg PV fan?
I'm probably in everybody's
I've been
group.
after a white version of that guitar since I was 15 years old, and the trouble is when they come up, they're
I'll
three,
put you in touch.
three times what they were.
Tony Pasco, who's a good friend of mine. Tony was the A&R guy at PV before Hartley and everybody. Tony's got 2 white ones right now.
Is he selling them?
He is right down in the Panhandle of Florida. I'll put you in touch with Tony. We'll talk.
Give me his address. I know some guys.
Everything's for sale. You know that.
Yeah, everything's for sale, man.
Absolutely, for sure. Psycho, jump in, man, and take over.
Okay. Question of the day. You just showed us that guitar.
Yeah,
Out of all the guitars, do you have a favorite?
yeah, I do. My favorite guitar is my PRS
Ah,
Wow.
20th anniversary standard 24.
wow.
Like I said, it's just solid mahogany. It's huge, but it's such a great guitar. Yeah, man. This one is
Wow.
this. It plays like butter, man.
Amazing, man. Thank you for the shredding, man.
Yeah,
So-
that's the first Reddit.
That's gonna cost extra, dude. That we have to pay him more now.
No.
Yeah, seriously, you can't play much longer than that, dude, or we have to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean,
So I have a totally separate question. You mentioned about son and everything. I'm a dad of 2, of course. Everybody knows that. The question is, does your son think you're cool?
he, you know what, man? He actually, he really is my biggest fan. He's a large personality. He comes by that honestly. My dad and my father-in-law are both real characters. They hold the room with a joke all the time, and it's DNA has just flowed straight down to him. He even wears one of those T-shirts at school that's got my dad, which is a stick man with a guitar like this, your dad, which is just a normal stick man, you know. And he wears that to school. I mean, he pretty much marches to the beat of his own rhythm, man. He's a very, very cool kid. He dresses himself. Sometimes I look at him and I'm like, it looks like Stevie Wonder dressed in. But I'm like, hey man, that's your thing. You roll with it. Like today, he's dressed as Mario. He's wearing like dungarees, overalls, with a red shirt underneath and a Mario cap. And he's like, yeah, that's what I'm wearing today. I'm going to be Mario today.
If it's good enough for Van Halen, it's good enough for him.
There you go. Exactly.
Absolutely, for sure.
He's a cool kid, and yeah, I'm very, very fortunate. Best thing I did, man. And you know what? It was probably the least amount of effort.
Oh yeah. So we're getting right down close to about like the 0 hour. So we want to start setting ourselves up for our final like rounds of questions and stuff. But Angel, I'm going to kick it over to you, brother. Are we still doing well with the fans? And do you have anything from yourself?
We got 2 questions from the fans. Ian, is the Pride band streaming?
Oh, wow, that's a good question because I'm not even sure who owns the rights to that album anymore, man. I've got the reel-to-reel here in my basement, the 2-inch tapes.
I bought them on Amazon.
There you go. I don't know if that. Do you know what? That's a really good question. I don't think it's streaming, but I will look into that. As you just heard, you can probably find those albums on. You'd have to buy CDs. I don't know if people have CD players. My car doesn't even have a CD player. I was like, what's going on, man?
And Ariel Jackson, why did you decide to go into music?
Oh, what should I say there? I don't know, lack of options, a masochist. I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to challenge myself getting into the hardest industry on the planet. I don't know. It sounds corny, but the bottom line is I honestly feel that kind of line of work chooses you, and really you just don't have a choice. You either choose to do a day job and do it on the sidelines, but ultimately you know that's what you want to be doing full time. And I just took the plunge and had to do it. There's really nothing else I feel that I could have done. It's the only thing apart from being a dad that I think that I was good at.
Oh, right on. That's awesome. Angel, do you have any final follow-ups for Chris, brother?
Yeah. Just want to commend the band. You guys did We Got Tomorrow, We Got Tonight DVD. How nerve-wracking was that, doing the songs differently than what you're used to doing it?
Oh man, it was. It was a shit show, man. I can tell you that right now. Like getting that thing together. When the whole of that thing was over, it was such a sigh of relief, because things were just going wrong left, right, and center. You know, trying to get 14 or 15 people on stage, a horn section you've never met, a string section you've never met, rewriting the songs completely, backing singers. Actually, they were phenomenal. They really nailed it. If you don't mind, I want to give a shout out to those girls, because they're in this band called Caned, Welsh band, 3 sisters fronting this metal band, and damn, they can sing. Cheryl Kane, Shez Kane, if you guys Google her, dude, she's got such an amazing voice, and I think she's actually about to front an album on Frontiers Records that's coming out, a melodic rock album. Cool. So, but we were completely in the dark about how this thing was going to work. We didn't know the venue, we didn't know the sound guys. It was just at every turn something was going wrong. And we had to wear smart clothes, which was like completely sucked. But it all came together. We managed to do some really cool versions. Actually, I was really proud of the version of Forever Young we did on that, like the rewrite on that. It was like an acoustic, like a real somber acoustic version. I think I tapped into my inner goth to try and darken the mood. But very challenging, but extremely proud. of what we did.
Cool.
And I got another question from a fan. My apologies. Sometimes when you get to the end of the show,
That's fine.
Caroline Parker, if you could play one show as a guitarist in any band in the world, which band would you choose? You could play
Okay.
one show as a guitarist in any band.
I'd be Adrian Vandenberg playing guitar in Whitesnake, 1990, headlining.
Like a confirmation yet, because we run from 9
Okay.
to 6 o'clock every Wednesday.
So we have all right, Jay. We need to put you on mute, dude. Sorry about that. We're having a.
That's fine.
All right. So sorry, I'm gonna jump in very quick. Chris, if I want to get in touch with you or want to see more information, tell me your social media or what is the best channel to get in touch with you or see more information about you.
So I have a Facebook and Instagram, which is Chris Green Guitarist. You'll be able to find me there. I've recently been putting out a lot of content on YouTube.
I'm sorry,
Just
but I'll
reviving
right now for next Wednesday.
reviving my
Sorry.
YouTube channel. So if you guys Google, I think it's Noose Frenzy, Noose Frenzy. You'll be able to find me on YouTube, or just Google Chris Green 50 guitars in one song, and that's
Awesome.
that's
Awesome.
probably the most popular one that's on there at the moment. But yeah, I appreciate the support, and if you guys can come out there and check out some of my videos, I do a lot of like teaching content where I can show
Very cool.
people how to play guitar breakdowns of Tyketto songs, Furion songs, Pride songs, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Who's next, Bobby or Steve?
Go ahead,
Steve,
Bob.
go ahead. I'll grab the end.
All right,
Okay.
Stevie.
All right. So we know that Tyketto postponed all of 2020. You guys were supposed to be playing M3. Does that mean that you're not even going to do that?
The M3 in September.
Yeah.
Again, we had to make a very, very hard decision
Okay.
whether or not that things would still be going in September. But more
Right.
importantly, Danny lives in Spain, and
Right.
Spain was on full lockdown.
Jeez,
I mean,
yeah,
to the
that-
point where he wasn't even allowed to leave his house. So we didn't even know if by then he was going to be able to travel. So again, it was a calculated decision that we were like, we don't like being the band that pulls out of stuff. We don't pull out anything, but we had to make a difficult and educated guess whether or not that we would be able to honour that show, because we'd rather pull out than cancel last minute.
Gotcha.
Copy. So it's a two-part question because, all right, so then you're doing that. You did come out with a new album last year, right?
Yeah.
So, and in 2021, could we expect a follow album or just what you guys were going to do this year, next year?
The tough thing, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys know much about the background of some of the stuff that's been going on with Tyketto, but our drummer tragically lost both his brother and his father to COVID during this pandemic. And at the same time, his wife also had COVID and was just, it was a very, very, very horrific thing that entire family was going through. And we decided at that point, everything goes on hold. Everything to do with the band goes on hold. And so until we pull through this entire thing, I don't think we're addressing anything until the tour is the only business that's on the band's agenda at this point. We're just band's always been family first, and that's that. But hey man, look, we're creative people, we're musicians, we love writing, so I'm sure something's going to happen.
Yeah.
There'll be something positive to come from this madness. I'm sure of it.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. So I'm sorry. Where in Spain does your mate live? Where in Spain? What?
I think he lives close to Malaga.
Malaga? Oh, nice, nice, nice. Okay, just wonder. I go every year to Spain, so that's my second home. Uh,
Oh, yeah, he
Bobby,
plays. He does acoustic
Yeah.
shows and stuff.
So,
ne-
Chris, I'm a big supporter of anybody who's been locked down and doing this. How can we help? How can we help you guys, whether it's through guitar lessons, whether it's through buying your older albums on Amazon or whatever? But how can we help support you guys? And, what can we do?
Well, do you know what? I mean, I would usually say, hey, why don't you go out there and buy some stuff? But right now, just be there for the bands that you're into. Just check out what they're doing. Comment, make them feel like there's still awareness out there. Like
You mentioned you were teaching. Is there a link for that? Look, that we can share because I'm a big fan of getting that out there for whatever you're doing for whatever during this lockdown. Get it out there. The only way to do it is share it. If you're teaching, look, give us a link. Let me get it on my pages. Let me get it on that. What's Tyketto, but let me know what you're doing on that end.
Well, if you guys don't mind on your Facebook page after this, if you want to share just one of those YouTube videos, people can find my YouTube channel from that one video. I'm putting out goofy stuff all the time. I'm planning on putting out more content that's not just guitar content, but more like humor based stuff with the guitar playing. But definitely, check out Greg, our bass player. I think every Saturday he's doing a live show from random back gardens. He's doing outdoor shows in, I think, everyone's back garden in like Pennsylvania, where he is. Different place every week. Yeah,
I'm right in PA.
Go check him out. That's Greg Smith. You'll be able to find him because he's been in every band. Yeah. Mazza plays with him. And Danny Vaughan, the singer of Tyketto, he's been doing shows on Thursday nights as well. If you go and check out Danny Vaughan Official, he has a great show he puts on Thursday nights. And again, they don't do it for the money. There's donation links, and if you want to donate something, you can. But right now, we're all adapting and trying to work out what's next. Most musicians right now have had the rug pulled out from underneath them. Not just musicians, everyone in the entire machine, from road crew to, lighting crew, to everybody that's just involved behind the scenes in the music business. So, just support them any way you can. And only if you have the ability to do it. I understand a lot of people just don't have the financial means. And if you don't have the money, just be there for them. Message them, give them encouragement. We're musicians, we're lost souls. We need attention, please.
Jay, you're on mute. Just click your microphone. Are you in? Your microphone is on mute. Just click on top of click the icon of the microphone and you will be back in. Sorry about it. There were a lot of
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, cool. Sorry about that. I got called away by a phone call that I needed to pick up, so I appreciate you guys holding it down.
It's okay.
One of the things that I wanted to kind of hit you with, Chris, just kind of as like a wrap-up thing on my own and for questions is, one thing's just kind of more for like shits and giggles and stuff, because you were talking about like your area of England when it came to using the Pride name and whether or not you had really thought that one through. Because the thing I always thought was kind of funny is one of the bands that I've also always enjoyed most of my life is Autograph. And when I would do like, you'd be, it makes sense, but you'd be surprised actually if you go to sites like Amazon or eBay or whatever, how difficult it is to find just basic merch like t-shirts and whatnot for the band Autograph. Because even if you put in like Autograph Band or Autograph Band CD, you just get 6,000 autographed CDs.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things, and the story of those guys, scooping up their name on the fly is well documented. But it just kind of reminded me of that. But the one thing I just wanted to ask you is, you had talked earlier about when you know met Danny for the first time and worked with him. But were you familiar with Danny Vaughn and Tyketto like beforehand, or even with him doing his stuff in Wasted?
No, I had no idea about Wasted.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to bear in mind, I got into rock music when I was 15. I heard my sister playing Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, and that was like, oh man, I don't know what that is, but I've got to get into that. So I wasn't, how do I put this? I didn't listen to anything older than that. I just went forwards at that point. You know, it went from that, Mr. Big, you know, Dream Theater, all these kind of bands. I didn't go back, you know, so I've got to be honest with you, it's terrible. I didn't have Led Zeppelin CDs. I didn't have Van Halen CDs. I didn't have any of this kind of stuff, you know?
Gotcha.
So when it came to Tyketto and Danny, I knew the song Forever Young because it was the last song played at a rock club that I went to every Friday night in Brighton. That's how I knew the song. And I used to headbang to it. And now I headbang to it on stage, so full circle.
Oh, that's awesome, man, for sure. So real quick, guys, my apologies if I backtrack or bring up anything that's already been covered. But Angel, how are we doing for the fans? Any final questions?
Nope, no final questions.
We're doing good.
Yep.
Psycho, Bobby, Max, how are you guys?
I'm good.
Yeah, we are all set, man. Ready to close.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I just want to say thank you again for taking the time. And, you know, we look forward to seeing you next year, of course, M3 or wherever. And, you know, I've always been a fan and I always will be. And I love you for it. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Guys,
Hey, Chris, I just sent you a real note, quick note on Facebook with Tony Pasco if you're looking for that Vandenberg. So.
Okay, I appreciate it, man. And listen, thanks, guys. And it's a really positive thing that you guys are doing here during a dark time. So kudos to you for doing that, and thank you very much for having me and, you know, giving me the opportunity to talk about what I do.
Awesome.
And please talk to CJ and talk to Danny to get their asses on the show too.
I will.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'll do
And
that.
keep making great music, Chris. You know, look,
Absolutely.
us guitar players need albums like that.
I'll do what I
That
can,
we do, man. We appreciate you so much, Chris. Thanks
Yes, we
again.
do. Thank
Thanks,
you for
Chris.
spending a Wednesday night with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And fans all the way through, we want to thank you guys so much for taking the time with us and giving us a little bit of an hour plus of your Wednesday evening here on the Metal Summit. We really appreciate you guys. We will see you guys next week. We've already got a guest lined up for that. We'll share that in the near future, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday, 9 o'clock, the Metal Summit. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You are listening to the Metal Summit, your source for all things rock and roll.